Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Bold TV, a program brought to you by beautiful, outstanding ladies with disabilities, specifically Bold Hearts Initiative. Every Saturday by 10:30 a.m., we come to you through our YouTube and Facebook channel, having very important conversations around disability and its related issues, shedding the gender light. Today is no exception, and to have a conversation with me are beautiful, indeed, outstanding indeed ladies with disability. So I'll allow the ladies to introduce themselves, and I'll come back to tell us more about how we can participate in the program.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here. Yes, my name is Grace Ogeonoha, and most people call me Oge Passion. I'm a business opportunity broker, and I connect people to health and wellness opportunity. I am based in Port Harcourt. I'm in the city of Port Harcourt, and my disability, I'm an above knee amputee.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ave Aiki. I am a baker, a disability rights advocate, and ED Hope Alive for Possibilities Initiative. I am based here in Abuja. I am a below knee amputee, physical disability. Thank you.
All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ozamaka Stella Ike, a banker from Oka in Anambra State. I'm a physical challenge lady, a wheelchair user. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Afiongetim, the co-host of Bold TV, member of Bold Hearts Initiative, a medical laboratory science based in Uyo, and I use a wheelchair for spinal cord injury.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Osaki Teresa George, reside in Port Harcourt, Rivers State. A member of Bold Heart Network, work with Fair Care Foundation, polio survivor. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies, for being on this episode of Bold TV. My name is Freki Andrew Estienne. I'm also a co-host of Bold TV, a member of Bold Hearts Initiative, executive director of Fair Care Foundation, a public health professional, among other things, and your host for today's episode. It's a pleasure. Like I had mentioned earlier, Bold TV comes to you every 10:30 a.m. Saturday through YouTube and our Facebook channel. We've been doing this since the year 2020, bringing you riveting conversations and discussions on disability and its related issues. Today is no exception, and our focus is focused on what the United Nations termed 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. So it is known the world over, from the 25th of November to the 10th of December, 16 days have been set aside to commemorate or to have conversations or to focus attention on activism against gender-based violence. And for us, there's a particular thing that brings us together, and you heard it in our introductions. We identify as women with disabilities. And so for this 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, even though the focus around the world is with women, violence against women, it has become important that when these conversations happen, that we turn the spotlight for our community. And for us, that is women and girls with disabilities. So every year, the campaign focuses on, and this year's specific theme is Unite, Activism to End Violence Against Women and Girls. And of course, for us, women and girls with disabilities. So we are inviting everyone, in the conversation, as the conversation progresses, as we give counsel, advice, as we point to directions, give out innovative solutions. We're asking all the multi-stakeholders who are involved in ensuring and the prevention and elimination of violence against women and girls with disabilities to stand up, unite, and advance the rights of women and girls, protecting, preventing, eliminating. All right, let's jump straight into the conversation. The first question I'll ask, and I'll be asking Afyong this question. When we hear the word gender-based violence or violence against women, what are some of the discriminatory experiences and possible gender-based violence, experiences that persons with disabilities, specifically women with disabilities, can have? What are some of them? Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you for that. Discriminatory, activities that foster gender-based violence. Some of that include things like forced isolation, where a woman or girl with disability is, kept away from interacting with other people. They are, segregated again. They're kept, hidden so that they do not, interact with other people. And another thing could also be the use of derogatory terms. And these two actions have very negative impact, especially on the mental health of women and girls with disabilities, where the person is, is treated treated as less than human. There's no dignity in the way they are treated. So when a person is isolated and cut off from human interaction, it can mess with a person's mind. And many women and girls with disabilities, and generally persons with disabilities, face this on a regular basis, because more often than not, caregivers, families don't know what to do, and so they feel that the only way they can, protect the image, because it's about them, protect their image or cope with it, is to put this person away. And then using derogatory terms, addressing the person does not, acknowledge the rights of that person as a human being, and does not acknowledge the right of that person to be addressed properly and treated with dignity.
Awesome. Thank you, Afyong. You really brought out two key things. Forced seclusion is a form of discrimination. And if you will notice the conversation we're having, we're not going to be, we're going to be speaking to the things that we identify with that are perpetrators or causes of gender-based violence. And forced isolation, people still hide their children with disabilities. In fact, people hide even grown-ups with disabilities. So forced isolation. And the second one you mentioned, using derogatory terms. In a bit, we'll come to, some of the psychological effects, the insight of some of the effects of this discrimination. But let's just stay with derogatory terms. We hear them every day. What are some of these derogatory, if I speak English, that breaks my teeth. What are some of these derogatory terms that we, as persons with disability hear on the level, on a regular? Just mention one or two. The other day, and just to jump, the other day, somebody who is supposed to be, let me put it there, the person is a champion in the disability community. The person is a person without disability, yeah? But in the spirit of partnership, we partner with other persons without disabilities because we want to enhance partnerships as the SDG encourages. And we're having a conversation, and the person said, "Oh yes, it's true. I know somebody that is crippled." Man, the conversation ended there. It ended. It stopped. So the person pause. Lecture time, blessing, and I we're there for a while. And that 10 crippled. So I'll be over to you. What are some of them?
Okay. There are lots of the words out there. You get to hear people, especially like an amputee that I am, you get to hear people when making reference to me, instead of using the word in fact, a lot of people don't even know the word amputee. They can easily just say the girl with one leg. The girl with one leg, or they will, when they are talking about persons with disability, as in that word living with, as in they associate disability with a kind of a disease like HIV or something. That's something that you are living with that you can't even help yourself out of. So many other out there.
For two key ones, they call you, let me need 3 days, that's one leg. So they have captioned that song for you. And also, calling you, I keep telling people, if you are not sure of what to identify or to call, just call the person by the person's name.
Exactly.
one leg
Exactly.
and she's a big based in Abuja. It's simple. You say that girl with one leg or that girl on wheelchair, that girl in teenage church, I feel with on wheels. Things like that. So these are some discriminatory experiences and some possible gender-based experiences that persons with disability feel. There are so many others. I would like to ask Stella, what are some other discriminatory experiences and possible gender-based violence experiences that women and girls with disabilities face? You can say one or two.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. Like one of us have already stated, there are a lot of discriminatory words that always comes with persons with disability. Like she said, she talked of instead of using the word amputee, they are calling her one-legged person. I've been in a situation. I think it was an event that we attended. Instead of calling the young man a man with a short stature, I see that dwarf. I was like, no, this is bad. Don't use it again. Just call the man. Since you know the name, why not call the man by the name? So we.
All right. So Stella has
Like, hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, we were dragging it back and forth, and it was like causing issues there. Thankfully, some persons with disability, we have to back it up and started educating them there, right and there. Some of the gender-based violence and disability-based violence that I've been able to experience and all. We'll talk about invasive and irreversible surgical practices like female genital mutilation. Most persons from the grassroots area still don't believe that this is a violence against girls. They still don't believe there is a violence. And we talk of controlling the girls and women with disability, like taking their communicative aids away from them, denying them access to mobility and assertive aids. These are forms of violence and discrimination we ladies, we women with disability always face daily. Right. So we equally have the one of neglect from our so-called caregivers or family members due to maybe you didn't buy into their idea over an issue. They will try to punish you using that means. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So Stella has mentioned, she gave an example or an instance of where they had to stand up to insist on the right proper term to call the young man. So just to mention that when it comes to identifying persons who have a disability, that the right term to use, being in Nigeria and being guided by two things, that's the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities and our Discrimination Prohibition Act. We in Nigeria, we use the term person with disability. So we do person first. And if you are not sure of what to do, please find out that individual's name and refer to that person by the person's name and not necessarily by the disability. But when in doubt, person with disability is okay. Avoid living with, living by, and things like that. All right, that is clear. So I know that we have, really dealt with it, but I want to just ask Osaki to just mention one more, and I'll go to the next question. Just one more.
Okay. One of the violence women and girls face is they see it as sex objects. I'll give an instance. Recently, an old friend saw I and another friend. I think we all schooled together like years back. So he now told the guy, are you still with this girl? The guy said, we are still friends. Well, since that time in school, the guy said, no, recently meet again. And the guy was like, Yusuf, now what for you? Why do you waste time? Why not just pregnant her? After all, what she will need at this point is pregnancy. She will need a baby now. What else does she want? So now my own friend is not telling me, I'm like, really? So now she just be your sex partner and get pregnant, baby factory. Now after that, what next? And the guy said that he didn't even respond to the guy. He was like, why would that guy reason like that? So he was trying to like convince the guy that no, we recently met again. So if we're having a relationship, we might take it gradually or whatever that comes out of it. But I shouldn't just pregnant her immediately or see her as a sex object or whatever. So I think recently people are still seeing women and girls as sex objects, sex partner, not even the thinking of getting married to the person, but the person should just be there for sex, and that's all. Thank you.
You know, when we have this conversation, what usually comes strongly is that women with disabilities are seen as largely asexual. But on the extreme is where women and girls with disabilities are seen as a checklist to tick off in a person's lifeline that I have had sex with a woman with disability. And the conversation that we're trying to say today is this: don't allow yourself to be a tick on anybody's box. You know, very deep conversations. Osaki refused to be a baby mama. It's okay. So or a sex object. But that is violence against a woman with disability, and we see it all the time. I hope somebody is listening. I'm sure you are seeing that the conversations we're having are tending to ensure that we speak to our issues as women with disabilities. I forgot to emphasize on something that Stella said. She talked about female genital mutilation. Now, it is something that persons do not consider as a form of violence against women. Unfortunately, this still happens. Prevailing, people use culture as excuse. But this is the reality, and this is the fact that is a form of violence against women and girls. In fact, some people take it upon themselves that their girl child with disability, they say so that nobody will spoil her, they now go ahead and do this FGM. Please know today that this is discriminate. It is a gender-based violence against that girl. So let's go to, some of the effects. Afyong had already started mentioning some of them. All in all, provide some insight into the possible psychological effects of discrimination and abuse on the mental health of women and girls. So I'll go to Oge, just mention one so that we can try to meet up time. Provide insight. Go ahead.
One of the effects of discrimination and abuse on mental health of PWDs is that these people who call themselves complete, most times they expect less from people with disability or more from people with disability, depending on the case. Yes, and a study that was conducted in South Korea examined the correlation between the experiences of discrimination and stress or depressive symptom in PWDs, wage workers who were PWDs. And it showed that PWDs who experienced more discrimination in their daily lives due to their disability showed a higher level of stress and depressive symptoms than those who do not experience discrimination. So sometimes people expect less. They feel that you don't deserve. I see these things. Even recently, I see it and I face it. I handle it. I tell them, is it because you feel I'm someone with disability and you think I can't do this? Probably because someone who you feel is complete cannot do it. And you think because I'm someone with disability, I cannot do it. For crying out loud, I'm a graduate and I'm an employer of services to a lot of people, to well-abled humans. You understand? So it had to take me a lot of explanation for people to really see that this thing, I am capable of doing it, or someone with disability is capable of doing it. Then sometimes too, people expect too much from people with disability. Probably they are trying to compare you. You understand? They expect much from you. Probably they want to help you. So they're expecting that you should give them more. You understand? So these things are not right. It affects our mental, health. It took me a lot for me to actually convince these people that it is not this way you're thinking. So I think we should, the public should look into that.
All right. So, okay, is saying that when it comes to a possible psychological effects from discrimination or gender-based violence, one is depression and depressive symptoms. And yes, it is true. We've had the research to back it up. Of course, one of the things that we're continuing to do in Nigeria is continue to do even more research. But it is true that abuse is synonymous with depression. A lot of persons, in trying to handle the effects, fall into depressive, sometimes suicidal states of mind. Afyon, please, can you provide a little bit more insight, the mental health advocate, provide some insight into the possible psychological effects of discrimination and abuse on the mental health of women and girls with disabilities?
Okay. One key impact of abuse and discriminatory acts against women and girls with disability is how it affects their self-esteem. It results in low self-esteem. And, we know low self-esteem can have a ripple effect. It can lead to, it spirals down to a lot of other issues, anxiety disorders, where, they feel threatened more often than not. They don't feel safe because, when, people tend to keep demeaning your status and making you feel as less important than everyone else, more often than not, whenever things happen, they're anxious. There's a lot of anxiety because you don't know what to expect. Even when things, when you don't know how to reach out for help, and that increases the disadvantage for many of these women because they don't know if they should reach out for help or not, because they've been told they don't deserve more than they are getting. So you do it, say repeated over and over, it tends to sink into that person's subconscious that this is as much as you can, this is who you are. And so it diminishes their capacity, makes them anxious, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of self-doubt. And like you said, with time, they sink into depression. And after, we know where that goes. So they begin to entertain the thoughts of suicide, that what am I here for? If I'm not useful, if I can't do anything more than this, then I think I'm better off not being here. So as much as more they are treated as, less than they should be, the more their human rights are being violated, their right to life, their right to freedom, their right to free expression, the more these rights are being violated, the lower they sink into depression until they do not see the need, to continue living. And this also will increase the rates of suicide, and it also, the poverty rates are higher. In as much as women generally are disadvantaged, there is a double disadvantage of disability because the poverty rate, more women with disability are more impoverished because they are not given opportunities, they are not given their capacity diminished, and they don't even think they are capable of anything more. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. And, she said, quite a bit. But one thing I've seen, from the conversation is this, that the ripple effects continue to increase or aggravate the disadvantage. And, this is something that, we must curb, because I believe that an effect of the low self-esteem or a reflection or an effect of abuse is aggravation of the silence culture. When a person feels that the person doesn't have value, the person doesn't bother speaking up because it becomes the new normal. We've talked about, what some of the discriminatory experiences are about, and then the possible gender violence that women with disabilities face. We've talked about, some of these derogatory terms. We've talked about insight into the effects on one's psychological and mental health. So the question is this, how can families and caregivers or the community around women and girls with disabilities better support them and protect them from gender-based violence? Go ahead.
Okay, how families can support their loved ones with disabilities well is, first of all, accepting these people and loving them just the way they are. Because most of the times families see these people as helpless, and they feel that the support they are giving to these people, without them, the person is amounted to nothing. So if family tend to accept their loved ones with a disability just the way they love the other child without a disability, and see the potentials in that person, it will help more for the benefit of that person with disability and also the family. Like, for instance, yesterday I was watching online about Born Different. There is this episode they normally do. They get to interview people that are born differently, with some with disability and all. There's this lady with a rare condition of muscle malfunction. So when she goes to school, this is what people call her out, but she have loved herself. She's coming out to tell her story and identify people who are like that. So, and while she was talking, you could hear from her speech the love her family, her mother gave her. So by the time family members tend to support their loved ones with disability, that person with disability will face the world boldly. Because knowing within the person's mind that, yes, my family love me and support me and love me just the way I am, the person can do anything in the world, not having these fears of would the world accept me or not. The moment the family accepts the person and love the person have the wings to fly anywhere the person wished to.
Okay. Awesome contributions. When your family believes in you, there's a tendency to be able to face the world boldly because you have a support system. So our family, the family unit, is the first support system that a lot of persons with disabilities have. And this is us insisting that families with children, girls, women with disabilities should show this support to build confidence, because there is no other world for persons with disability. We are all living in the same world, and we have to face it one way or the other. All right, let me quickly ask Oge briefly, how can families, caregivers, or the community around them better support and protect women and girls with disabilities from gender-based violence?
Yes, so PWDs are more prone to violence, not because of their impairment, all right, not because of their impairment, but because they are perceived as different, all right, and they have lesser power to do things or to speak out for themselves. So there are lots of things, like when it comes to early child marriages, especially amongst the girls, most of these girls do not have a say. They are being pressured to marry because of their disability, not because they love the person. And they have a lot of things that tell them, like, they're not going to see someone who's going to marry them, and why don't they get into this marriage? And most of those marriages are either that the person is already married, probably as his second wife or something, or that the man lost his wife, or he just wants to have them as a baby mama. You understand? So a lot of girls are pressured into early marriages, not because of love, but because they have to go in to avoid not being married, not getting married later in life or something because of their disability. So it's wrong. Parents should look into that, family and the society. Yes.
Okay, so I feel Oge is saying stop early child marriages. Don't marry off your daughter with disability because you're looking for the next person to take on the burden that you want to run away with. Early child marriage is child abuse, and it is frowned upon, and for women and girls with disabilities even more so. So let me turn this conversation over to Osaki. Osaki, I would like you to now share some knowledge, innovation, or counsel to the society. We've done family and caregivers. Turn this to the counsel to society or government. How can they ensure elimination of violence against women and girls with disabilities? 1 point. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just 1 point I'm really thinking about now is the engagement. When it comes to decision making or policy making, kindly engage to the government now and to the public. Whenever you're having a program, try and engage persons with disabilities to see how they can participate in that particular program. Ask them what are the things that are necessary they need for them to participate effectively, and also ask how possible could they mobility, how can they come, and every other clusters that they think that will be involved in that program. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Osaki. So Osaki is saying that in the fight against gender-based violence, it is important to hear the voices of women and girls with disabilities, whether they are the survivors of abuse. Don't just sit down, and do paper creating of safe spaces. There's a lot of wealth of knowledge that can come from experiences, and the voices of women with disabilities or persons with disabilities engage in the conversations in solutions or finding solutions towards prevention and elimination of gender-based violence or violence against women and girls. Stella, what would you like to share as a counsel or an innovative idea you may have to society or government?
All right, thank you very much. For me, my counsel will be is for everybody, starting from the person with disability herself. First of all, you accept that this is an impairment. After accepting, then the family goes ahead before the community in general. So my counsel is in line with what one of us said now: inclusion of women and girls with disability on policy making tables concerning matters on gender and sexual-based violence relating to persons with disability, especially women and girls. Equally, take steps to combat these stereotypes and challenge the perceptions and attitudes of persons, both teachers, social service officers, and some medical service officers. Change their narratives and perception about women and girls with disability. In a scenario where a lady with disability will come to take a medical service, maybe the person is pregnant, the way they will first of all look at you as if you don't have the right to be pregnant is kind of repulsive, and it will make you to go back to your shell. So we are going to change the narrative. That's the most important thing. Take awareness to all the social service providers, medical, legal, and all, to change the narrative. That's for me. That's my counsel. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So she's speaking to changing the narrative and the stereotypes that form negative perceptions when it comes to women and girls with disabilities.
Yes, I'm happy you mentioned innovation, because that is something that is sadly lacking. And as we are moving towards, celebrating International Day for Persons with Disabilities. That's the key word that is going to be, highlighted on. So innovation is key, and sadly, it's something that is lacking in our society. For persons with disabilities, especially women and girls with disabilities, had to fight. It's been an uphill task, just trying to get even the most basic innovation, such as, for wheelchair users having ramps, for hearing impaired individuals having sign language interpreters, for those who are visually impaired, having information created in a format that they can easily understand. But these are simple things that, are not something that is recurrent, things that if they are actually established and installed in the right environment, can increase accessibility and inclusion. But more often than not, we have a society that is not willing to change. They tend to chalk it up to, it's extra additional expense. But yet we spend so much more in trying to change the environments we live in, trying to, make places more comfortable. And yet we forget, and it starts with, the mindset that persons with disabilities are not, they forget that we are persons first. Because when you see someone as a human being, then there is the likelihood of you treating that person as not including that person, it will not be there. Because if you see that this is a person, you will not intentionally do everything to shut that person out. So the problem is people still have not wrapped their minds around the fact that these are human beings first. It's as if the disability has suddenly changed into an alien. You're no longer human. And it's amazing because I'm dressed like you, I talk, everything else. My body may not be the same as you, but who cares? You have fat people, slim people, we are all different shapes and sizes. So why is the fact that I have extra wheels to assist me? Why does it make it so different? So I don't know. I think it starts with that reorientating, attitudinal reorientation, changing people's attitudes towards person with disability first. And that is the only way we can move forward, because everybody will now hands on deck to think about, okay, how do we make this? Let's say, for example, you have a newborn child. A baby comes into your home. Before that baby is even born, you're already planning, rearranging your house to welcome that new child. You proof your home from, danger. You put away sharp objects, you cover electrical appliances, put things away, because the person that is coming will know their limitations. So why would it be that when someone has a disability, we don't think of, okay, this person is still useful, is capable, this is a valued member of society. So how can we make this person welcome? How can we make it so that this person can actually, work better and be more productive and give their best? So I think it all starts with what people think. For me, that is it. And I hope that people can begin to change the way they think of persons with disability.
All right. Afia has made key points. And it's domiciled on the fact that attitude is key. If you do not change your perception about persons with disabilities, and you are a service provider, just like Stella has mentioned a few, if the person comes to you for cases as regards gender-based violence, the tendency for you to shock it aside as irrelevant is very, very strong, because you have not seen that person. Some people don't even believe that they can rape a girl with disability. And I'm like, but she's a girl with all the parts. So why won't you protect her? So we must change our attitude and respond, be more responsive to issues as they affect everyone, including women and girls with disabilities. And for me to add to that, I just want to mention that there are so many laws in the land. Sadly, the laws in our land end up being a series of papers, and they almost are like, feathers to people's caps, that during my tenure, I signed this. But we need to move away from using them as propaganda to actually protect the rights of persons. So when you hear things like the VAP Act of 2015 that speaks, to violence against persons, we must begin to exercise these laws and bring perpetrators to bear, to respond, to take punishment where they are due. It is time for society to really indeed protect its citizens. And that includes the 30 million plus persons with disabilities in Nigeria and the 16 million plus women with disabilities in Nigeria. All right, ladies, we've spoken to caregivers, we've spoken to the government, we've spoken to the community. But in these our last words, because the reality is this, that where persons without disabilities, that women without disabilities, experience gender-based violence even 5 times more than the than the other person and their male counterparts, that women with disabilities experience it even 8 times more. This is the reality. So in these last words, you are not speaking to society, you are not speaking to family, you're not speaking to anybody else, but want to speak to our sisters who have been through, who have gone through one form of gender-based violence, sexual, physical, economical, psychological, who have been through and today are called GBV survivors. They have experience. What would be your word of encouragement to this woman?
Okay, my encouragement to victims out there is they should know that they are not in this alone. And we are doing our possible best to work to bring the end to this. We know that the getting to the end of this won't be easy, but little by little, the little we are doing is making waves. So I want them to know that they are not alone.
The little message I have for them is to be courageous. No matter what, they should always speak up, amplify their voice, say something when these issues happen, so that so many persons can pick it up, and always be courageous. They should not think that it happened and that's the end of the world. No, they should keep up with life.
Word of encouragement for PWDs is they should heal, regardless of what society or family or whatever it is. They should just find a way to heal, because until they, console themselves, nothing anyone or anybody is saying will really mean.
Okay. Dear woman, dear strong woman, because it takes a strong woman to be able to go through what you've been through, and you're still here. If there's anything anyone, no matter what anyone says to you, pat yourself on the back and say, I'm still here. So the fact that you haven't, given up, the fact that you're still there, you're still, it may not seem like you're fighting, but the fact that you've chosen not to give up, that in itself is a victory. So I will tell you, you are stronger than you think you are. Don't keep quiet. Everything that is done to you is to silence you and keep you quiet and make you feel less. You are not less. You are valuable. The world is waiting for you to rise up and come out. So don't keep quiet. Reach out. Someone somewhere will hear your voice, will hear your cry and respond to you. So don't keep quiet. Don't be silent. Don't give up.
Thank you very much. Do not give up. And for me, this is what I'm going to say. If you are my sister and you are still currently going through, meaning that you probably have accepted that this is your situation, maybe it's from a relationship, you are more afraid of leaving that relationship and you prefer to stay there in the abuse. I want to encourage you that whatever courage you may need to step out and get your life back, today you will find it. Many like you have had to leave relationships that were going to kill them or take their lives or take their virtue or take their power, and they are living their lives well. If you can step out, please do that. There is no need we coming for your burial as opposed to you leaving without that relationship. I know it's going to take a lot of strength and courage, but if you decide that for you it's time to walk out, please do the needful. Do not look at what society is telling you. And then for the GBV survivor out there, if you speak up, we need your voice in this matter. There's nothing about us without us, nothing about survivors without you. God will strengthen you. We will continue to pray for our sisters that they find the strength to be able to live their lives. All right, it's been an amazing episode. We've, done our bit on Bold TV with respect to the 16 days of activism. And if you're out there, just know this: 16 days is a long time. This is just one of the days, but the second day, 26th. That's when this is showing, 26th. So we have other days up until the 10th of December. In your own way, on your profile, on your status, say something and add your voice to the prevention, protection, and elimination of violence against women. And not just any other women, including women and girls with disabilities. So this has been Bold TV, powered by Bold Hearts Initiative. If you want to partner with us, reach out to any of the co-hosts. If you want to be a guest discussant, reach out to any of the co-hosts. If you want to ask any questions, boldheartsnetwork.info@gmail.com. Right, we will respond. Share, send the message far so that people can hear, learn, and know. Until we come your way next time, ladies, please unmute yourself and tell somebody bye-bye. Don't fight. Be good.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a beautiful day ahead.
Yes.
Have a beautiful day.
Thank you.